Hello, personal productivity enthusiasts and community. Welcome to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News Podcast. I'm Ray Sidney-Smith.
And I'm Augusto Pinaud.
And we're your hosts for Anything But Idle. This is a special episode. We're not really doing regular episodes of Anything But Idle, but this is a special episode recording here on June 10th, 2024. And today we're doing a special episode to provide you commentary on Apple's Worldwide Developer Conference Keynote for 2024 and the various announcements they made within it. And so, Augusto, what did you think about this year's WWDC and the whole event around which Apple loves to highlight their updates to their platform?
Well, there are a couple of interesting things that has happened with this year. One is this is the first event in a really long time. I don't know since when, but that they did no hardware announcements. And that's one thing that Tim Cook has been pushing. This is not the consumer event. This is developer. This is a developer event for developers to developers. And they have been really trying to make that happen instead of making something that is for consumers. And this year, they did make zero announcements. They announced software, they announced but they did zero new products, new hardware, nothing. So that's interesting to say. Like everything, they start with their fancy show. This year was in a plane, okay, and they went and covered from Vision to iOS to Audio and Home, WatchOS, iPad, and macOS. That was what they announced, and then at the end, they went and talked about how Apple Intelligence, their version of artificial intelligence, is going to play. They begin talking the Vision Pro, and it is still interesting. And this is interesting with Apple, and I was very frustrated about it watching the event because it's the same thing they did with the iPad. They are still trying to figure it out where the customers want to use the Vision Pro before they really push. So they talk about the pictures, they talk about the videos. They are now announcing that the Vision Pro will be for the first time available outside of the United States. So China, Japan, and Singapore will get it on June 28th, and then Australia, Canada, France, Germany, and the UK will get it around July 12th. And they announced also the Vision OS 2.0, but they didn't talk much about it. I mean, they mentioned a couple of things, but they show in a moment a big screen, or if you connect it to a Mac, how the screen is now curving. That's one thing that I love about the Vision Pro, is the ability to throw screens in the air and work. But again, they were really shy, in my opinion, into what you will be able to do with this. And it was very quick. They start talking about Vision Pro around 10:06, and in 11 minutes they presented the pictures, the Mac new curve environment, and that was it. So they went very, very quick, and then they moved to iOS.
Yeah, I
They
think
announced
the most interesting thing, the most interesting thing I found as I was watching the Vision OS piece was that they were talking about creating spatial photos out of 2D photos. And I thought that was an interesting piece there, because there are many times when folks want to be able to see their 2D photos in their Vision Pro, in the Vision Pro environment. And I thought that was a very interesting add on or tack on in terms of features on the platform. Again, my continual problem with this is that it's locked to the device, so you're not going to be able to see those those spatial photos outside of the Vision Pro, and that's really problematic for me because there's just a legacy, a compatibility issue with being able to see that. And what happens when the Vision Pro is no longer produced? If Apple decides to discontinue it, all of your spatial photos just become inert. So I'm a little bit concerned with that, but we'll see what happens. I think that Apple will continue developing Vision Pro, and will continue to keep putting out new versions of it until they find an audience and find a particular application that focuses what it is. Is it productivity? Is it gaming? Is it, what is it? Is really the primary goal for Apple to figure out right now. They kind of created a device and now they're trying to find a home for it in the market, and I think that's interesting. I mean, that just shows how much money they have to spend. But that's how it is. Anyway, I also like the hand gestures. They were showing the hand gestures that allowed you to be able to bring home view and your time and battery levels and the control center. I like that piece as well. Being able to more deftly bring up different portions of your Vision OS environment is going to be really nice.
Yeah, that the battery, it's a big deal. I even download an app to be able to see the battery because it's not fast or friendly to see on the current version. That said, I don't think the Vision Pro is yet going anywhere. We need to remember this is a new product. It has less than a year. It's not even available anywhere, and it is not even available outside of the United States. So this is a product that Apple will still have legs, and Apple learn and they repeat and has been fine-tuning the strategy from the iPad to the watch to now the Vision Pro. They know it's a new product. They know it's going to take time. And as much as I think, and I've been enjoying mine very, very, very much, I understand that it's going to take time for Apple understand where is the niche, where they are going to push, and how people use this device. Same thing as the iPad. When the iPad came out, I bought the first one. I knew it was my productivity machine, but it took years for Apple to really put power behind the iPad to be that replacement for the MacBook.
Yep. So onward to iOS. iOS 18 was announced.
iOS 18 was announced. They finally are going to allow you to customize in a better way the home screen. This is long overdue because everybody could do it but us. And it's been annoying. Now you will be able to do that and do colors. And I mean, there were many of these things are things that you could do already, you could hack and do, but now you will have it in the system. They are going to rework the control center, and that is a very good thing because the control center is very powerful, but few people know how to use it, and that's something that I hope will help people.
It'll help
other
me
thing.
People. I mean, really, I spend every day in the control center and in the settings app trying to show people various things, and the control center is just kind of messy, and so now having more controls, I think are going to be really great. I really did love the tinted apps, having to be giving the ability to tint the app icons. That is pretty slick, and I'm looking forward to seeing that come to the iPad.
Yeah, that is going to be awesome. They are continue trying to improve authentication, and now you will be able to lock apps and use other things like search notifications. Like, okay, you know what? I don't want these search notifications and stuff to be shared. My privacy, I will be able to do, and you will be able even to hide certain applications. So they put the example with an application called Hair Track Pro or an icon called Hair Track Pro. And okay, I want to hide this. I don't want to see it. And currently, You can hide them from the main screen, put them on the directory, but now you will be able to say, you know what, this app, in order to be open, need a password. And there are cases in which that makes sense. Hey, you know what? I manage the calendar. I manage the Outlook for this client. Let me put it now, lock it into here, so it require a second greater authentication aside of my password or my face. So um the the other thing that, well, now you're going to get more notifications for devices that you want to connect, and again, what information can be shared. But for me, the biggest thing was text formatting and the scheduling the text. There is many times where I want to send a text to somebody, but it's too early or too late. And I love the idea to be able to say, you know what, this is a text, send it right away, and but don't send it until X amount of time. That will be very, very nice.
I use that on Google Messages on Android about once every other day. I just
Yeah.
really appreciate that feature, and once you have it, you don't know how you lived with in life without it. So I'm really looking forward to see this coming to Messages as well. It's a fantastic feature, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. But just from a
Yeah.
productivity perspective, right? It's such a
Right.
strong productivity piece to be able to schedule messages ahead of time, and for them to go out when you know that a person is going to most likely be able to receive it, right? So we think about, if you send a message on at your leisure, then you're not really thinking about the ability for the person on the other end to receive that message at the time and place where they're going to be most likely to open it and most likely to be able to receive the message well, right? And we want to be able to always send messages in that regard. So this really gives you that opportunity, right? If you're on Apple's iOS platform or Mac or whatever using messages, make sure you think like, when is this person best going to be able to receive this message? Maybe you're asking them to do something for you. Maybe you are sending a potentially emotionally charged message. Choose an appropriate time that they're gonna be ready for that message.
Right. And even, it happened to me as a dad. Okay, my kids are in iOS, and sometimes I want to send them that message. Okay, let's send them the message and be back. And I don't have a way to do it. So continue then. They announced the ability to create your own tracks. That's going to be nice. And um, same as sharing. And they announced that I am, let's see what happened. They are copying Google into the categories on mail. So your mail now will be filtering different categories. And I'm going to complain about this. I'm going to try to stay 1 second in my soapbox and then change the topic. Instead of all that, give me the ability to sort by who sent the email. That's all that I want. Okay. It's incredible that 18 software versions later, I still unable to sort by from. Let's go to the Photos app. Okay, let's skip into that. Um, Photos app also is getting a big upgrade, and I will be posting in PPC Personal Productivity Club the screenshots of some of the features they announced, and as more information is coming, they said the betas will be released for developers today. So there is a lot more information that is going to come in the next hours. This event was today at 1 p.m. We are recording this at 4. So there is not a lot of information yet. That said, the next thing that they jump was the AirPods, and specifically the AirPods Pro. And they had something that I didn't know I wanted. Okay. is I don't have the AirPods Pro. I have the other AirPods. The AirPod 3 is what I have here on my ear. But now the AirPods Pro, you will be able, when you get a notification, for example, Ray is calling you. Do you want to pick up the call? Okay. I will be able to nod for yes or move for a no. That sounds very cool, especially I'm driving and stuff. I like it. The other thing that is coming, and this is something that they have been doing very, very well, is noise cancellation. And they are going to be now even more voice isolation to remove all the background noise. It works very well today. So I'm very curious to see how they improve that on the iPod Pro to make them even more powerful.
Yeah, I've always found that there is a particular sound that the AirPods microphone sound. There's a particular. I wouldn't say it's a tinniness, but it's a form of sound I can absolutely tell the difference from. Also, I'm very sensitive to when you hear electric cars like a Toyota drive by. There's a sound they make so that pedestrians hear it. It actually is very caustic to my ear. I can actually it makes my jaws hurt. That's how powerful those sounds are for me. And so I have just much more sensitive hearing, I think, when it comes to those things. And so I'll be really curious because in the demo, her voice came through pristine. And I know it's a demo and they had probably a chance to clean it up. But if that's the clarity by which their noise isolation machine learning technology is capable of cleaning up the audio for, that's really powerful and really, really good. And I'm looking forward to seeing that because I unfortunately talk to a lot of folks who are wearing their AirPods talking to me on the phone, and I would love to not hear that sound that sounds like they're on AirPods. So it'll be really good for me.
Yeah. The next thing is they went into Apple TV and the changes in the formats, on the size, and all the things. You will be able to work. Your Apple TV now will have a Peanuts screensaver. I'm sure there will be others, but that's basically where they went. They announced something interesting because this is something that we use. And now when you're watching a movie, so you're watching the movie and suddenly you got distracted or they said something that you didn't understand. Okay. If you go and hit the button to get the movie 15 seconds back, okay, that you can do today, the software now will automatically put closed caption it for the repeat. That I thought it was very, very, very cool because yes, that's the reason I did back to the 15 seconds. So I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, I think that's great. I just always leave my closed captioning on. I'm one of those.
We do too most of the time, but I love the idea that they added to that. If you put it on mute, automatically will bring them. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, that's absolutely. I like that. And it looks like they turn subtitles on mute, right? So like subtitles automatically go on mute so that you can do that. And they also added robot vacuums in the Home app. Finally, I know that was a complaint I've heard quite frequently from clients. So it's good to see that robot vacuums are now a part of. I'm guessing with the more rollout and support of Matter, they've been able to do that in the Home app. So that's good as well.
Yeah. The next thing was a watch, sorry. And I thought about you because they talk a lot about this new app that will allows you to track recovery. And I know you do intense exercise. So now they are trying to get this information to give you more information on what is the load, even take a break from, today I'm not doing exercise, I'm in recovery, and give you more of that information. It was, again, very quick to that point, but I think it's interesting how much the health part of the watch has continued coming forward. They they add about this, they add about your recovery, they add some things for a female in the sense of they have the cycle tracks, but now they add some notifications. If you mark that you're pregnant, they will track better your heart rate and those things, so you can see the thresholds for that. And the last thing that they add was the widgets and the active widgets, especially that I really like that on my phone. Okay, I like the fact that if I do an order in Instacart or DoorDash or Uber, automatically I get a widget that is giving me that information as it's coming instead of me needing to unlock the phone, open the app. I really like that that's coming to WatchOS. I'm looking forward to that piece of component.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to really look at this effort rating that they announced. There just needs to be more information on it.
Yeah.
The idea that they've created a new metric in Apple Health that you need to understand is going to be interesting. I mean, I if it's useful to people, it's useful to people. But
Right.
since I can't quite understand all of the metrics underlying it, it's pretty difficult to determine what and how useful it's going to be. But I'm looking forward to learning more about it to see whether it's going to be useful to people in analyzing whether or not they want to continue to use that. The whole concept of training load obviously is really good for people who are following a cadence, right? You know, typically you want to be doing some kind of active recovery and or a deload period every X number of periods. And so having something like a training load statistic is helpful for folks who are into fitness like myself. And so that I think is really good. Again, I'll be really curious how this effort rating matches to the training load and whether or not it's actually accurate. I do like the vitals being provided to you in that kind of statistical analysis space and showing you where it might be out of your typical range, right? Saying, hey, you know what? We've noticed these things are atypical. Is this, something that you might want to talk to a healthcare
Mm-hmm.
provider about or something like that? So that's really good as well. I appreciated that. And looking forward to seeing more of these non-health related features coming to it, like translate and ticketing and more of those pieces come into it, because those are really where I know I'm a Google Pixel Watch wearer, and I know how useful those things are in my own day. Just being able to pull up a payment or pull up a ticket and be able to scan it directly from my watch and not have to fumble with my phone to do those things, as well as the health functions obviously being built into the phone as well, built into the watch as well. So looking forward to seeing those things develop on WatchOS.
Yeah. In fact, this weekend happened to me something that has never happened to me with the watch, and we went to a baseball game, and we start buying food on the stadium, and each person whatever wanted from food from a different place. Okay, so we bought here, we bought here, we bought here, and by the fifth transaction, and they were not a big transactions, they were the burger, the whatever. By the fifth transaction, the watch gave me an I want to say, use your phone, not your watch. Your watch is, there has been too many transactions. That has never happened to me before. Given we're too many transactions, in the same location, so the security decide that the watch may not be secure enough for that, and it went directly to the watch. And the watch works no issues, but it was an interesting thing that I had never experienced before, because you don't normally go anywhere and doing 6 transactions, 7 transactions in a row in the same place.
Right. That's great. And it's good that they are aware that multiple transactions in the same place can sometimes be
Yeah.
fraud. And so they're giving you that prompt to be able to take
No,
care of
no,
it.
I
So
was
that's great.
I was very happy. I'm in this case, it's kudos to them. Okay, I was very happy that they stopped. Yeah, it was small transactions, obviously, because it was food. It was nothing necessarily expensive, but I like the fact that they, after 6 says, your card on the watch is locked. Please go to your phone. So
Fantastic. Well, onward to iPad OS 18.
okay, and then there they give us the same thing: home screen updates, the colors, the control center updates. All that is fun. They are announcing that new apps are coming, or new presentation for the apps, especially Pages and Keynote and etc. And this is where the next announcement was the calculator. And I need to admit that when they said, "Oh, calculator," I say, for the love of God, is again, it's been 18 version of this software. I hope you come with something at least incredible. And they did. Okay. They integrate the calculator. Okay. They give you history, unit conversions, whatever. But then they allows you the integration of the pencil with the calculator. So you will be able to open your notes application and do 57 minus 18 equal. And as soon as you put the equal, it will do the calculation. I mean, that's very cool, or at least it was. I thought it was very cool. I'm looking forward to do some calculations and test it. Same thing. If you put, a list of numbers and put the line for total, it will do the sum for you. It will allows you to create variables. I was very impressed by that. That you will be able to do a physics graph and put the variables and use the variable for calculation. I mean, yes, you could do it. I don't know, it was a TI 83
84
or 84 what I had when I did my MBA, and you could do some of that stuff. Still, I thought that was impressive.
Well, I think you got the cart in front of the horse. I mean, they're bringing calculator to the iPad. I mean,
Yes.
that's the news to me, because
Yes.
they have not had it before.
No.
So this is fantastic. But it only took them 18 versions to get the iPad a calculator.
But they
That's
did it
the part
well. But they did it in an amazing way.
I've had a calculator on every device but my iPad since its inception. It's really quite crazy to me, but they're bringing they're bringing calculator to the iPad finally. So that's a good thing. I mean, that's the thing that I brought away from it, is like, I can now do typical normal calculations on my iPad. Fantastic, without having to install a third-party tool,
Right.
because you can install obviously third-party calculators, but come on.
Well, what for me was impressive, I mean, yeah, I'm very happy about that, but I'm more happy that you can do it with the pencil, because there are many times that I am handwriting stuff, okay, and I want to do a quick calculator, okay. So I like the idea that I will be able to do on that note, do the calculation that I want to do and have the number, and then be able to go to continue on my note. That was very exciting. And then
Their share play functions also, I thought, were really powerful. How they were showing the ability to draw on the screen, and it would draw on the screen of the individual that you're working with, and you could now request remote access for being able to help your friends and family.
That is for people who has parents and non-techie people. Yes, that's great. I mean, we can do it with Zoom and share your screen. You can share your screen, but now you will be able to write in there and say, when my father says no, my settings do not have general, I will be able to tell him open general and mark in red where I want him to click. So I am very excited about that one in particular, or even get control and do it myself. But then they announced a thing they call smart script, where the learning machine will come and fine tune your handwriting. My handwriting is awful. Okay. But still I do it, and still I use the pen. So maybe there is hope for me to get a readable handwriting after that.
Well, that's fantastic. I think all of the writing functions that they provided, I thought were really interesting, both inside of Notes, being able to have those math calculator functions right directly inside of the Notes environment is going to be really helpful for students and for others who are just, using Notes as their primary note-taking application surface. Now they don't have to worry about toggling back and forth between places. They can do the math right there, and they can also verify their answers. And I'm hoping there's a way for you to be able to turn off the math calculations functions, because if I'm like doing my homework in a note, right, I don't want it to automatically provide the calculations every time if I'm trying to practice.
That is you. Let me tell you that the younger generations, at least that's what I have found by experience, okay, use Madame A or Mr. G, okay, not so much Siri. Siri is not the brightest bulb apparently in the bunch. They don't use Siri, but they use Okay, I have catch both of my kids, and it's being discussed among parents. Okay, sitting next to Madame A and going to the doing all the calculations that way. So don't know. And then we
Oh,
go to the next big three, Mac OS, Sequoia. And they begin announcing something on Sequoia that I hope they bring to the Vision Pro. I understand they're not going to do it yet, but it is iPhone mirroring. And I know this is something Samsung has been doing for a while, I think. And it's great that I can leave my phone in the bag and use what I need out of my phone in my Mac. Yes, I don't have a Mac, so I hope they bring it to the iPad and the Vision Pro. But or I don't carry the Mac with me, but this is very cool. And what you are getting is your phone, and you will work in your phone and the apps on your phone and everything. And what you are going to get then is your phone will stay locked, and you will be able to fully interact with your phone or bring it back there.
so is this gonna? I know they mentioned this was iPhone. I think the moment they do this with the iPad, it becomes a much more interesting tool to me. This is a more sophisticated version of what Samsung does with Phone Link on Windows, and of course, Phone Link works with many other smartphones. There's just more limited functionality. For example, I have a
Right.
Google Pixel, and with the Google Pixel line, you can use some of the functions using Phone Link on the Windows desktop. But what you're seeing here with iPhone mirroring is so much more powerful
Yeah.
and really phenomenal. I'm really impressed by it. And I can see now not having to switch between devices and just being able to use continuity to be able to view and control your iPhone from the Mac without really seemingly any hindrance. Plus, there are so many applications where you want to be able to use it from the desktop environment, but there is only a mobile application. There is not a
Mhm.
desktop application that you can use, and now you have that kind of feature and functionality to be able to do it right there from the desktop. So you can type on a physical keyboard, which is my dream, sometimes fever dream, on almost every mobile device, because I don't like typing on glass. It's just a silly interface to be typing on, and we can of course thank Apple for that. But the reality is that I want every one of my phones to have a physical keyboard, and you're just not going to get that. I mean, there's although I did recently learn that there are certain phones. I think it's what is the name of the phone? Was it the Nothing phone, or one phone actually fits that clicks case. So there's the case that you can
Mhm.
place your iPhone into, and it puts a physical keyboard onto the kind of
Yeah.
lower portion, but it extends the case and has a keyboard, and it works with I think iPhone 14 and iPhone 15. Well, one phone manufactured is so similar in size and shape to the iPhone that you can actually use the Clicks phone case with it. And so I'm hoping that at some point they provide a version for maybe the Google Pixel, maybe for the Samsung Galaxy lines as well, because I would just love having a physical keyboard for my phone. I just really like that.
I
Anyway, that's a side
No,
point.
but that is a very interesting point, because actually that was something I discovered this weekend as we walk into the baseball stadium. Now, at least Yankee Stadium, and I'm sure Yankee Stadium is doing this, other baseball fields will start doing that, are not allowing you to bring in a laptop. Okay. And
Oh,
that I thought it was ridiculous. Okay. And I had an issue coming in because I was carrying my iPad and a keyboard, and the guy thought it was a laptop and told me you cannot bring laptops. I needed to pull it out, show him that there was nothing, that it was a tablet. But when I was asked, trying to inquire why, and the guy says no laptops, that's it. And took me a while to for the guy to make peace that this was not a laptop. Okay, it was a tablet and a keyboard, but it took me a while to get there.
that's very interesting. I would imagine that there's probably safety requirements that they're trying to mitigate issues there, but who knows? Yeah, yeah. I know that they also have gone to really all mobile app ticketing. You have to install the Ballpark
Yeah.
app to be able to check in and do everything. So everything is done digitally now, which I guess saves paper, but it also confuses a lot of people. And I know that I was at also an MLB game on Friday, and it took about 5 minutes to correct one of the people we were with. Their ticket, just I'd forwarded the ticket to this person, and for some reason the ticket wasn't showing up in the MLB ballpark app, and it
Yep.
took about 5 minutes for us to kind of figure it all out. And it turned out that the iPhone kept taking us from mail into the mobile browser, and I, of all people, was confused into thinking that I was inside the MLB ballpark app.
Mhm.
And so I was like, this doesn't look like my app. It's, I'm on Android. So I thought maybe it's a minor difference. And then finally I noticed the little mail, button up at the top showing me that I was inside the internal browser in
Right.
Safari. And I was like, damn it, Apple. And so then I swiped out, went to the application, and forced it to open the ticket. And then finally, we were able to get the ticket that I had forwarded to activate. But just keep mindful of those kinds of things. Everybody just be mindful of those things, that they can really waste a lot of time when you're trying to
Yeah.
move around as we digitize a lot of these technologies. All right, onward to our next section for Mac.
Well,
Right, we had some more
on
Macs.
the FaceTime now on the Mac, you will be able to put backgrounds, things that others has been able to do forever, but is new to Mac. So you will be able to put the background like you do in Zoom or other applications. But the big thing, and we knew there was coming, was an application called Passwords. And again, excited about this because coming as something that is there for default increase the chances of your parents and the non-techie people to use it. One of the obstacles I found when I said, okay, let's install password manager to those people I do IT that are non-techies, they look at me like, I don't know. Now, at least these things will be a little bit more secure than what they were before. And this password app is going to come in all the devices. So that's very exciting. They even announced that in Windows, you will be able to access them through the iCloud in Windows. So
Yeah, so my curiosity will be whether or not passkeys synchronize across devices now with the rest of the passwords in the system, because my understanding my understanding from what they were saying is that Wi-Fi passwords and app passwords and website passwords, all of those are being bundled into the new passwords app. I'm guessing taking over Keychain. So
right.
Keychain is going away, and the passwords app will take over all of those things. Well, passkeys are coded to the device, and so does that mean that those passkeys are going to then be available from your phone, iPad, Mac OS devices across your ecosystem? Because traditionally, passkeys have been fixed to the
Right.
device. So I'll be curious to see once they bring it out whether or not that'll be the case. At the very least, we should be able to know what's happening, and that way you can create all of your passkeys, and then it'll say, this is your passkey for this device. That's great. You'll have 3 or 4 or 5, depending on how many devices you have, whether you're Augusto and myself, or whether you're a normal person. Uh, in terms of the number of passkeys that you have, because of the number of devices you have sitting in front of you at any given time. But I think that's going to be. I mean, again, we just need to have a way to solve for passkeys that also increases security across the board.
Right.
There is a convenience to having them synchronize across devices, but that, of course, then somewhat limits the security of the passkeys themselves, because that is a single point of failure in terms of a security breach if your passkey is compromised in that sense. So that is something that I'll be looking for in the future as we learn more about the passwords app.
Yeah, and that's something we are going to need to wait. Same thing as Play. Now they are going to try to use machine learning and AI to get you articles that you see and get an automatic uh, summary of it. Let's see what happened. And the next thing, it took me by surprise because they spent a lot of time in comparison to gaming. And I understand I don't game, so I am not their target market on that sense, but they spend a lot of time talking about how much gaming is critical into the iPad and the new Mac now that they share the chipset and everything else. So
Yeah, I mentally skipped that portion completely.
yeah, you and I are not exactly the great gamers for that,
Yeah,
but
but what I did appreciate was them talking about iCloud for Windows supporting more of the things, including passwords sync, I believe. I believe
yes,
is also supported
that's
on
correct.
the iCloud for Windows app, which means that you at least have access to it across your different platforms if you are, say, iPhone and Windows laptop. Right now, you have both passwords across those two systems. That's a real convenience for a lot of people, and I'm glad that they thought about that. Apple typically doesn't think about that, but I think now that they are thinking much more thoughtfully, as Microsoft did when they started to really develop their tools to allow for Google as well as Apple to extend onto their platforms in certain
Right.
ways. This is a really good cross ecosystem, cross platform, uh, you know, um, uh, cognizance, right? Just kind of recognition that people use multiple platforms and it's okay. It's not eating into your bottom line, really.
No, no, and as we do in the cross-platform podcast, that's exactly what we cover. What happened when you use different platforms, move from one platform to another one. I was sharing in the last episode, somebody who came to their office and they were told you cannot use your machine anymore. Okay, and this person had been using a Mac, and they told me, "Here is your new PC. We don't want you to use the Mac anymore." And this person was in shock. And I have a person who went, the with the Chromebook to the Mac. Okay, they were working with Chromebooks and tablet with Chrome OS, and one morning they get and say, "Surprise! Now you get a new Mac and an Apple iPad." Okay, and this poor human was pulling their hairs because all their life, all their system, everything was contained into that Chromebook that they were taking away. So
Yeah,
it
no, it's a
happens.
it's a real challenge for folks, and so, yes, they went from gaming, and, then they spent really the good rest of the discussion on the announcement of Apple Intelligence. What did they tell us
Yes.
about Apple Intelligence?
So Apple, we know they have been working into artificial intelligence, and they are trying at least to talk about the intelligence part into two things. One is how it's going to be integrated in the whole ecosystems, how you can do it, use it for important things like, hey, let me write this or help to improve with AI this text that I create, to silly things like let me create an emoji with these 5 words and create me an image based on that. But there are other things that were cool, like for example, tell Siri, hey, give me my driver license number, and if you have the image in the password app, it will be able to go there, pull your number, and that. The integration that they're bringing with Siri and this Apple Intelligence sounds very, very powerful. One of the examples that they show is you get a text from mom saying, "We have reservations for," and without leaving that context, being able to say, "Create a calendar event for me, find out at what time I need to leave to the office," and all this Apple Intelligence, use it. The other thing that they bring that was interesting for me is the inclusion of ChatGPT without an account. So they are trying to use Apple privacy walls for you to get into ChatGPT. And they said that this is going to be compatible basically with iPhones 14 and up and any device, iPad or Mac, that has an M chipset. So there's a lot of devices who are going to get this out of the box. The other thing they're trying to do with this artificial intelligence is get you this priority notifications. Okay, so based on what the context of the text, based on my Siri is getting self um, envious that we are not she's not participating. But try to get the context and try to give you what of those messages are more time sensitive than others and bring them those to the top. We will need to see what's going to happen with all this. It's too early for me at least to say how great or not great this Apple Intelligence will be, but it is interesting. They clean up the photos. So what seems to me that they announced were many of the things for where users of iPhones and iPads bring third-party applications, clean up the photos, writing tools, creating icons and those kind of things to make them, instead of through apps, make them directly into the phone. So we will need to see more of this as people start downloading the betas and see what they said. But seems to be very, very interesting future from this.
Yeah, I really hope that they can make Siri smarter in a way that is not just focused on the generative AI piece. Obviously, there's a lot going on behind the hood of Siri, and they're starting here with Siri, on I think the iPhone, and then they're going to expand it to the iPad and Mac in terms of its capabilities. And so this is interesting. I'm curious to see how they make Siri more capable, and at the same time, I'm a little curious to see how they blend those two together over time. This Apple Intelligence should be available to Siri. The whole concept of ChatGPT all of a sudden being involved gives me pause. That's not traditionally been Apple's way. And so for them to partner with the same company that Microsoft is so heavily invested in, I don't know. It challenges my general feelings about Apple, and I don't know how that's going to all work. But I get their privacy cloud compute concept and being able to separate and keep private what you do send to servers like a ChatGPT type, transformer. But the goal here is for really Apple to have their own, and I really feel like they've been sleeping at the wheel because they should be building their own in this regard, and they haven't. And so, or maybe they're working on it. I don't know.
But that's not untypical of Apple. They did that with the iPhone. The first iPhone was a Motorola that synchronized with the Apple Store and everything else, and then they came with the iPhone. So when many times they have done things like this and partner with people to come with these features before they really bring their own, and see what people really need and really use before they really develop.
Yeah, I think this is it's funny because you're talking about one of the wealthiest companies in the world, and with the most cash on hand of almost any other company in the world, if not the most wealthy of any company in the world, and they felt the pressure of ChatGPT, Google Gemini, and Anthropic's Claude, with Amazon backing Claude, that they felt a need to push this out ahead of schedule and to partner with a third party like OpenAI, which, to be quite honest, has had quite a bit of kind of palace intrigue around Sam Altman and all of that stuff going on. He was fired from the board and then rehired over a weekend. I mean, there's something there in terms of Silicon Valley's usage of ChatGPT, of OpenAI, and so on and so forth. So there's a real problem there. And yet they embrace ChatGPT in this regard. I'm really curious to see over the next, probably 2 years, how this all plays out. Because ultimately, I think that Apple has the money, they have the talent, they have the general resources, and they have the community's backing, the users' backing, to be able to build something in-house that makes it clear that Apple is focused on privacy, and they need to put that ahead of everything else if that's the brand they're going to build on, right? They're the ones who came out and said, we're going to be the privacy and security brand that's going to be elegant and simple, and it's just going to work. And now they're telling me that I need to patch in ChatGPT, even if I don't have to have an account or whatever else. I know that it's some other tool doing what I think is a fairly aggressive amount of work on my device or even in the cloud and bringing it back down to the device, and it's not Apple doing it. So very curious there. I'm not faulting them to a great extent, but I'll be curious to watch this over the next few years, a couple of years, to see how they develop Apple Intelligence to take over some of these pieces, and more importantly, to just really make Siri useful, and that means really furthering the development of shortcuts, so that shortcuts works across iOS, iPadOS, and macOS in a seamless fashion that just gives me much more capability to engage Siri in those processes. Of course, they talked about on-screen awareness as it related to Siri, which just you're looking at all the pixels, you see all the pixels, you should be able to tell me what's on screen, Siri, and then of course engage activities and actions based on those things. So just seeing all of those pieces come together, I think, is going to really make Apple a strong ecosystem to work in, especially when it comes to asking it to be more productive for you.
Yep.
Anything else about Apple Intelligence?
No, I think, again, it was an interesting event. It was an event for developers. People who wants to play with the betas will be able to, and they're not developers, will be able to do it in July. They will start releasing the betas in July for people to play. So we will see.
Absolutely. All right. Well, this was a lot of fun. We're not coming back with any episodes after this in the immediate future. We'll let you know when we are doing a special episode here for Anything But Idle. But we like coming and doing these special commentary episodes on some of the big tech news, news of the day when they do come out. And so, as always, thank you, Augusto, for joining me here on Anything But Idle.
Thank you.
And with that, everybody, we hope you all enjoy the rest of your day, evening, midday, whatever time you're listening to this or seeing this. Thanks for listening to Anything But Idle, the Productivity News Podcast. And until next time, here's to your productive life.